Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we'll be talking about how to make a feature-based build-up version 3. And then also a big shout out to my guy, Chris from Culture Code. He's actually the one who taught me a lot of these techniques and helped me out with this build-up. But yeah, let's get right into this. Basically, the first layer is just this like vocal from Chris's Crying You Out. He released the stems on his Patreon. So we're really just kind of using it for this part here. And then also right before the drop as well. I'm still crying. And then after that I also have like the vocal chop kind of filtering in using an auto filter. If you want to learn how to make vocal chops, feel free to check out my other videos on my YouTube as well. I go over, the processing and also how to kind of create your melodies as well. I will leave all the links in the description below for any of the videos referenced. And then after the vocal chop, I have this repeating vocal effect. You actually might have seen this technique on my first video on how to make feature-based buildups, but basically I just took the end of the vocal, so this is like the whole thing. So just basically taking the you out part and then just kind of like chopping it up to like 8th notes and then to 16th notes eventually, because that's how my percussions are building up. So for the processing on the repeating vocal is a little altar boy. Literally it's just to kind of add more tension on the buildup, but basically the formant is being automated. So slowly going up as the buildup's going up, as well as the drive is also being automated. The little altar boy actually has a great distortion. Artists like Caslow and Culture Code sometimes actually use just the drive on the little altar boy and may not use like Decapitator, for example, or other distortion plugins. So you can definitely try just using the distortion in the little altar boy and see how that sounds on your chops and stuff as well. And then after that, I have a automating reverb, just kind of again building more tension in the buildup. Just kind of automating it to taste, honestly. So I basically did it from 0% to about 30%. And then also again with the reverb, just kind of doing the low cut to get any of low end rumble. And then I also automated the delay as well, going from I think 0 to around 50% or so. And then I also automated this cutoff filter to kind of give like a washout effect. So just automating this from like around I think 100, yeah, or 240 to around, just to basically the taste. So next up we have this vocalizer and it sounds like this. Essentially we're just automating the fine here basically on the frequency shifter. And I think that's about it in terms of automation. Just a standard reverb here and then just a standard EQ, getting rid of any low end frequencies basically. And then next up we have an ARP. You actually might have seen this ARP on my previous video on how to make feature-based buildups version 2. Sounds like this. It's the same exact ARP. It's an ARP from Culture Code's preset pack, I think on their website or their Patreon. But really standard ARP, basically like 2 saw waves, ASDR to taste, standard low pass, input select A and B, cutoff to taste, distortion, chorus, EQ, delay, and reverb. And in part B, last time I actually automated the mix speed. This time I don't think I did, but in case that you wanted it, here's a part B. Also, if you want this project file, I have a Patreon page. You're welcome to check that out. I will leave the link in the description below. On my Patreon page, you'll get basically a bunch of the project files I've uploaded on previous videos, like my How to Midas video, how to make vocal chops 2. I also have a feedback tier that you can support, as well as a coaching tier as well. So again, welcome to check that out. Link in the description below. But yeah, that's really it in terms of what's in the silence. I also automated the cutoff here as well, just to open up as the buildup's opening up. And then for the distortion, I'm using Decapitator, maxed out all the way, but then automating the mix knob. So that way the Decapitator or the drive basically maxes out at a layered part during the build up, just to kind of, again, build more energy. And then again, automating the delay to taste basically, and then standard EQ there, and then another EQ, taking out any like the low end rumble basically, and automating the reverb here to about 25% or so, and also automating the gain basically, or volume, so that way it's not super loud as it's kind of opening the cutoff filter and the distortion's maxing out, and then also an auto filter automation. Next up, we have this contact library called Damage. Just like the classic kind of orchestral type of percussion. Sounds like this. Just kind of, doing a rhythm to taste basically, and also doing a EQ automation, again, cutting out some of the lows as the, again, buildup is building up, and then also a delay automation as well. And then next up is a snare. It sounds like this. And then basically I kind of just changed the velocity for every other snare just to kind of add a bit of like extra rhythm in the buildup. So I basically have the velocity going up as the buildup's also building up as well. And then I have an OTT. This is basically what it's doing to the snare. It's kind of like beefing it up. So this is without OTT, and then with OTT. So I basically just took out all these bars. I don't know exactly what that does, but it basically just makes your snare freaking beef up a lot. And then a RC20, adding some more distortion, and then some big crush as well, and then just magnitude not maxed out all the way, so it's not like fully distorted. This is basically what it's doing. And then with the RC20. And then standard EQ here. I think there's also an automation. Yeah, basically another automation just to like kind of wash out some frequencies. And then also a fine tune automation that's basically kind of like changing the pitch of it. And then also some gain automation, because after, all the processing, it got kind of loud in the mix. So that's basically what that's there for. Next up is a clap. Sounds like this. It's a really standard like Kashmir clap. Yeah, Kashmir clap 03. And then very similar idea basically. I don't think we're automating the reverb this time. I basically just added more reverb because the clap was kind of dry without it. Yeah. So that's basically what the reverb's doing. And the same thing with the EQ. We're just automating it so that way like it's cutting out the lows again as the buildup's building up. And then also an automation on the delay as well. And then after that we have a kick. And the reason why it's kind of sounding like it's almost cutting out is because there's actually a bus up here for the build-up drums, and I think it's only going to be the damaged percussions as well as the kick, because when played in context of the drop, it was actually adding a lot of low-end rumble, and that's literally what the EQ is there for, and then to also give a washout effect as well. But yeah, it's basically just cutting out some of the low end here. And to make a bus, basically what you would do is just make a new audio track and then, name it whatever you want to name it. I'm just going to do, for the sake of example, build 2. And then after you put build 2, you would basically just put, for example, if you wanted to put the kick in the bus, you would just click here and then select build 2. So that's pretty much how that bus was made. But yeah, on top of that, there's also an EQ here on the kick as well, just kind of making it bigger. So basically, I'm just kind of opening up the kick here as it's automating. I took out the frequency shifter because it just didn't sound that good in context of the mix. And then also a bit of utility automation as well, minusing some dBs and then building back up right before the drop hits, basically. And this kick here is basically just to add a little bit of different rhythm, because I changed the volume here actually to be lower here, regular here, and then lower here again. Next up is very standard like downlifters, but basically reversed to make it kind of like a riser. And then just a standard EQ here, basically just taking out any lows. And then after that is the same downlifter, just reversed back to normal. And then this is actually a riser from the Crying You Out stem pack. And then, as you might have seen on the previous How to Make a Future-Based Build-Up video, this is just like a sub-riser being automated as the build-up is building up. So basically this macro here is being macroed from 0 and all the way to max. And it's basically just the hyperdimension and reverb that are all mapped to this macro here, and then that's being automated up there. And then after that is also a pitch wheel automation. So just clicking this basically, and then just basically automating the pitch bend down to 0, and then all the way up as the build-up's going up as well. Same idea here, we're just adding more tension to the build-up. Next up is a tonal riser, sounds like this. This one's actually frozen, so I'm going to put up another instance of it in case that you haven't seen the other video yet. But basically here I'm doing the same exact note as a sub-riser, which is E. This is a root note of the track because the track is in the key of E. So yeah, basically what I would do is I would take the same exact note, and then on this patch here, I would automate the cutoff because this is macro to the cutoff here, and then automate it to go all the way up. And then also what I would do here is also macro the ratio. What we're doing here is basically matching the beats of the percussion. So yeah, I would just kind of automate it to 8th notes and then 16th notes, for example. And then in terms of inside massive, about 24 on the pitch here. And this is macro to the LFO. And then this one's mapped to the cutoff here. And then we're using a square wave. And then there's also some EQ here, I think. Yeah, there's some EQ here, I think, with a shelf. Yeah, and then in terms of processing, a very standard EQ, dipping out a lot of the low end because this particular sound had a lot of low end rumble. And then reverb outside of the massive, because inside the massive we don't have the low cut, so this is basically to help again with that low end rumble. And then again, I would also automate the reverb to about 0% to around 25% as the build-up's going up as well. And then another EQ just to get rid of more low end rumble. And then I'd also automate this auto pan to kind of have it like pan back and forth as the build-up's building up. So I'd probably do about somewhere high, and then I'd probably do the same thing with the rate as well, kind of build up as the build-up's building up as well. And then after the tonal riser, this is a pluck. But yeah, it's a very standard pluck here, you know, 6 saw waves, ASDR to taste basically, another saw wave with 7 voices, cutoff to AB, low pass, you know, same stuff here, cutoff being automated to open up all the way, and then part B is the tri-saw, took out the noise, same ASDR as the first one, or part A, input select B to A, again low pass. And then this is basically just to make it 8th notes. This is standard chorus, EQ, and delay. And then just like your standard EQs here, reverb, OTT, and then just like your standard utility automation, so it doesn't get too loud as the cutoff's opening up basically. And then one thing I wanted to kind of touch on in particular in this one was I actually added the 0 note too below the 1 note, just because like in this case it was lacking a bit of low end in terms of bass, so adding this basically just added more bass to your track. And then if we were to put these notes back in, just to kind of fill up that lower end frequency spectrum basically. And then after that is just a very standard keyscape. It's a cinematic preset and a very standard EQ here. You could also probably add some reverb as well. It sounded fine in the mix, so I just kind of left it as is. And then also I have the leads filtering in as well. It's playing the same exact melody as the vocal chop. And then for the effects right between the build-up and the drop is a very standard downlifter, literally just taking that same downlifter I showed you earlier, cutting it up a little bit and then fading it in. And this one's basically just the synths reverbed out and then reversed, and then also this EQ automation. And just in case you haven't seen the other times that I've done it, same exact idea. Basically, I think I just took the saws, I think it was, the leads, and I think that was it this time. You're welcome to take any other tonal things. But yeah, in this case, it sounded just fine with taking those layers, so I just left it as that. But yeah, basically what you do is open a new audio track, select resample, click this so that way you can record, hit F9 for the hotkey. You probably also want to take out the side chain just in case too, so I'm going to take out the side chain real quick. And then after that, just kind of take this first part here, add some reverb. This time use the 1980s part. Maybe I bump the decay a little bit, and then some low cut. And then freeze that. and then open a new audio track, drag and drop, reverse this, bring that over here, maybe take out that initial part. That should sound like this. And then basically for the EQ, set it to around 7,000. Honestly, it's gonna be the taste. And then the one around 3,500 or 4,000. And then basically just have it automate so it can open up both ways. So the one is opening up all of the lower end, and then the 8 is opening up all the highs. And then yeah, basically just doing a bell-shaped curve so that way it doesn't open up as fast. And then on the master, I'm doing the same exact thing as I showed in the previous how to make a future bass build-up video, but I'll show it again just in case. In this case though, I didn't minus as much dBs on the gain, because actually on the previous video I minus 2.5, but yeah, in this case it just sounded like it was too much, so I put it to around minus 1.5 instead, all the way to the drop. And then also doing the same thing with the mid side, making it more mono as it's kind of building up, and then again opening it up when the drop hits. And then same thing here with the EQ here, basically just cutting out some of the lows to about 125 or 124 or so. Also doing the bell shape, and then the highs is from the top to around maybe 13,000 or so, and then opening it back up when the drop hits. And I'll just kind of show you an example of what would happen if we didn't have this EQ. So this is without the EQ here. And then with the automation. Alright guys, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video or if you found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you haven't yet, hit the bell notification symbol so you know when my next video goes live. Also follow me on my Instagram and TikTok, and then also join the Discord server. I'm looking to create a community where we can all help each other grow, give each other feedback and stuff like that. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely join that. As always, I will leave all the links in the description below. Thank you so much again for watching. Until next time, much love. Peace out.